This is a story about Maya. You guys found me through my blog, so I thought I would go through my blog and jot down some of the things, some points of how this all happened. It's all in the blog, and that has been really handy to go back to and to figure out what did happen. Because you forget, I forgot. I weaned her in early May. She was a biter, and that's just no good, so I thought I would cut her off before she got teeth. And she started getting ear infections after that. It was in June that I had noticed that she was, when she would drink a bottle, she would sound really gurgly and congested in her throat and her lungs afterwards. And I got worried about it. I thought maybe she had an allergy. And that's the first symptom. It's called stridor. Basically, that just means she makes noise when she breathes, and nobody knows exactly why. On November 28th of 2006, she had another round of ear infections. Her lungs were sounding really, really, really bad. So we got an appointment to see an ENT later on in December, and we got sent to the radiology, the local hospital, to get a chest x-ray and make sure she did not have fluid in her lungs. It sounded really bad. The stridor was just really, really disturbing, and her lungs were clear at the time, so we sat back and decided we would just continue to treat with antibiotics. We were doing the nebulizer, we were doing oral steroids, we were doing all kinds of things. The doctors thought it was some sort of asthma, so we were going that route with it. Sudden Sunday morning came and she couldn't swallow. She would swallow food and it would just come right back up. We had no clue. This was brand new, but that combined with the really horrific stridor, we thought this was part and parcel, and we thought it was more of. But it obviously scared us. Monday, I called the ENT. He took a look around, said we're gonna have to take a further look. So Thursday, meanwhile, this kid, she can't eat. She could drink water, she could drink juice. I wrote down that she could drink rice milk because apparently I still wasn't letting her have any dairy, thinking that maybe it was dairy allergies. They went down her windpipe and down past her larynx in order to take a look. The doctor had told me that he suspected that she would have a subglottal stenosis, which is a lesion or a swelling in her windpipe. What he found was that her trachea was being pressed shut from the outside, and really, really terrifyingly so. She had about a pencil's width of room left in which to breathe. It was so tight that he barely was able to force that very small camera down her throat, take a really quick look around and pull out because the camera was blocking her air at that point. The doctor ordered us an ambulance to send us up to Primary Children's Medical Center, which is up in Salt Lake City. It's about an hour from where we live. Finally, they got us into the CT scan after kind of a long wait. Really, this has been one of the problems all along with Maya. She is a really healthy kid. She was developing at a normal rate. She was cute and chubby and obviously healthy. Her growth rates were moving up at a perfectly normal pace the whole time, and she just seemed so healthy. Everything seemed just fine with her, except for this ghastly breathing. I remember the technicians just shouting and saying, "Whoa, did you know that she has a big metal thing in her chest?" And what? They called us back and said, "Do you know what this is?" And obviously we had no idea. And very quickly came to realize that she had pennies stuck in her esophagus, and that was what was pressing her trachea shut. And even after they had determined that she had pennies in her throat, they thought she had a vascular ring at that time too, because the pennies did not really explain why her throat was being pressed shut. They had been there for several days, so they eventually thought, well, perhaps it was the swelling, because the pennies had been there for so long. And they took 2 CT scans because there was still questions about that vascular ring. It looked like it was a possibility. Turns out they decided that it wasn't, so they went ahead and they operated that night. The end of the winter and into the beginning of spring, things just progressively kept getting worse. The sound kept getting worse. Every time she would get sick, things would get worse. And it got to the point where every breath that she would take, like if she had to cry or she had a swift intake of breath to sneeze or to hiccup or anything, it would be accompanied by this horrible barking sound. And you could just see her chest just struggling for each breath. I took her into the doctor. It was a Monday morning, and I took her in and I said, "This is not working. Do something. It's not asthma." And the doctor said, "Yeah. Give up. We don't know. Go to primary children emergency room and they'll take care of you. You're just gonna have to go there." It was obvious that she was not doing okay. Just every little breath was a struggle. They came back just a few minutes later and they said she's got some sort of piece of plastic in her neck. At some point before all this happened, and what kind of mother doesn't know? Anyway, I didn't know. Hang on a second. She had swallowed a sequin. It was a clearish sequin. I even know where it came from a little plastic purse, Easter purse that the girls had gotten for Easter like 2 years before. A little sequin. It had lots of little sequins sewn all around the outside of it, so it kind of shimmered. And this was one of them. They didn't even have the purse anymore. But Maya had somehow swallowed it. It cut through her esophagus to the backside. It healed over the inside of the esophagus and formed a pocket back there. Probably all of the antibiotics she had been on from all of her ear infections had saved her life, kept it from turning septic, kept her from dying from the infection. It was swelling and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and as it got bigger, it pressed her trachea shut again. In the end, they went in and they cut her here and put 2 drains. They cut her stomach open and put in a gastrostomy tube, and they got the sequin out. When she was done, the doctor said we couldn't count on anything, that Maya might never be able to swallow again, and that she may be using the gastrostomy tube for the rest of her life.